All right, hey friends, it looks like I am live here. I am so excited to be crafting with you guys. It's another Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Central Time, which means we get to sit down and craft together. And tonight, if you guys saw by the title, we are going to be playing with Lunar Paste and sharing some of my favorite techniques. And really, tonight we're just really playing around and creating some cards together with the paste. So if you have Lunar Paste, of course, pull them out and play along with me. If you've got other paste you want to try out, that's totally awesome as well. You can really do these techniques with a lot of different items and things around your craft room. So find some different things you can use and let's join in and craft together today. So I see lots of you guys over in the chat. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I am so excited to have you. Your support means the absolute world to me. And I do just want to say that I'm not going to be doing lives further throughout this year. I want to kind of take off a little bit for Christmas and spend some time with my family and give you guys that time along with whoever you spend Christmas with as well. But we will be resuming in January and I'll let you guys know. So until further notice, I'm not doing any more lives for the rest of this year. But I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your year after this one. All right, but I will be doing videos still, so I won't be gone for too long. All right, so let me turn down to my work surface and let's get right into this. So these are my Lunar Pastes. Now I keep them in this little container. I just found this from, I think it was Target, and it's a really awesome container to keep the pastes in. Now, of course, as my collection grows, wink, wink, in 2022, this bin's probably not gonna fit it anymore, but I use this container from scrapbook.com for my blending tools, which I use along with the foams. I've got my swatches right here. You guys can see the amazing shine. So if you're new to Lunar Paste, they are just this beautiful, shiny, and really lustery paste, which I just love the amazing shine they got to them. And then of course, I keep some blending brushes in here. I've dedicated these blending brushes specifically to the Lunar Paste because they do get a little bit stiff like this, but then once you kind of fan through them again, they become a normal brush again. But I'm going to go through everything, really how I clean out my brushes, how I use my tools, and all of that in today's video. So I'm excited. So let's start off with a first technique here. Now I've been doing videos with the Lunar Paste for a while, and I needed to restock my black cardstock. Good news, I finally restocked my black cardstock, and now we can do the techniques on here because it really shines on a darker surface like this. All right, so let's go in. I'm gonna start off with, I literally thought that I had it pulled out. Let me grab one of my stencils. So, give me 1 second. So you can use really any stencil. There's a couple of different ones that I really love for techniques like this. You can use sweater weather, stained glass is a really good one, and these are really great too because they've got some area in between where you can shift them, which is a ton of fun. I think for today's technique, let's use this one. I like stained glass. It's kind of a fun one. So I'm going to set all the others off to the side, but you can follow this same technique with lots of different stencils you have in your craft room. If it's kind of a geometric, repetitive design, it should really work well for this. So I'm going to take this design. This happens to be the stained glass stencil. It's got tons of detail on it, and I'm just going to tape it to my stencil to make sure things don't move around. Of course, you could use pixie spray. You could use your station for this too. But I'm just gonna use a little bit of mint tape tonight. So we'll just go in and tape this down onto the edges. And I have a feeling you guys are going to love this technique. It's one of my favorites. It's one that I really introduced when I first came out with Lunar Pastes because it's just such a fun one. All right, so I've got this all taped down and ready. Now I'm going to choose a color, and I think I'm gonna start off with, let's do, sometimes I get a little stuck. I think I'm gonna use this one. Let's use a little bit of Bee Sting, which is just this beautiful, shiny red. Look at that, guys. Like, it's insane. When I first saw these, I was just stunned by their amazing shine that they've got. So I've got this little piece of plastic that I keep along with my Lunar Pastes. It's a little bit dirty and used by now, but you're gonna want a palette. So whether that's your craft sheet that you've got down, whether that's a piece of glass off to the side, this palette's gonna be really helpful for picking up colors, mixing colors if you want to, and really getting the most out of your Lunar Pastes. So I'm going to grab this, I'm going to take a palette knife, and grab my color out. Now we can always put the excess back after we're done, so it's not gonna really matter too much. I'm going to place this down onto my surface here. And there's a couple different tools you can use. Now I've shared the different tools that you can use in past videos. A blending tool is one of them. So this is just one of Ranger's detailed blending tools, the round ones, and it's got just a piece of the flat foam on it. And then you could dip this right in here and start your stenciling. Now I like these. They give a nice solid coverage, so you're gonna really get into there and get all of the details of that stencil, which is really great. And it also it just fills it in nicely. So you're gonna get a nice density of color there and saturation of whatever that color is. Now, I always tell people when applying lunar pastes, you want to be kind of careful about what motion you do it in. Because if you do this swirling motion, you're gonna get a nice smooth blend of that paste. This is what I tend to do and what I tend to recommend because you're gonna get the best blended results with this. But if you go in and you tap it, and I'm gonna actually add a little bit more onto my sponge here. Now you could totally add it like that as well. That's gonna really work perfectly. One thing that you can do is tap it onto the surface. Now this, it's a texture paste, so it's gonna give you the tapped effects. Like it's gonna give you that texture in there. Almost like spackling on a wall, right? But if we don't want that texture, if we want just ultimate shine and a nice smooth blend, I recommend keeping that circular motion going, and it's going to just smooth out that paste really nicely. I think some people at the beginning, I've seen a couple people use the lunar pastes and them say that they're not real pastes, because I've been showing them with just a blending tool like this, but that is not true. I kind of just didn't really share many techniques, but it does totally still act like a paste. It still captures all that texture. It's not just a paint. It's got that nice thick density to it. So if you want to add more texture, you totally could. All right, let me go in here and just finish off these edges. We really chose a detailed stencil here. I could have chosen something simpler like those circles, but I think you guys will really love all of the amazing detail that you get with this. All right, so just filling in these extra areas. Now I do find that using a sponge like this is going to use up a little bit more of my paste because it kind of sinks into the surface there, but I'll show you guys other different ways to apply it throughout today's video. So we'll cap off our lunar paste. Actually, let's put any excess right back into the jar, and then we'll cap off the extra. Now let's talk about cleaning too, because this is a really important step. First, we're gonna do the reveal. I love it. This is just stunning. And what you guys aren't gonna believe is as this dries, it gets even shinier. So it's amazing, the beautiful shine and luster that you get with these pastes. And we're gonna check on this in a second here, and I'll show you guys after we're done cleaning. Cleaning is an important part of the process though, and this is a really big thing for me. So I always like to clean things pretty quickly. Lunar paste has a pretty quick dry time, so you want to be pretty fast with how you clean things off. I like to kind of just saturate all my tools with water first, that way it kind of keeps them from continuing to dry there by adding a bit more moisture. And then I'm going to grab some paper towel. You could, of course, use a rag if you want to kind of have a rag dedicated to the lunar pastes. But like I said, adding that water is going to really help. It really just kind of lifts off that stencil then and is very simple to clean. But you want to clean it off quickly because if it dries on there, it does dry like a paint, right? So it's not going to dry like an ink where you're used to, where you can clean it off for days at a time and it stays wet. No, this is going to dry in your stencil and kind of stain it. So if you don't like that, if you want it nice and pristine, clean it off right away, just like that. All right, and then same thing goes for the palette knife. You can clean that right off. Now, if it dries on a plasticky surface like this, it's more likely to peel off once it's dry because it doesn't stick to those types of surfaces where they're like plastic like this. It's gotta be porous. All right, now, this is probably the most important part if you care about your blending tools. Now, there are replaceable sponge foams for these blending tools, so if you do end up messing one up, you're totally able to buy a replacement pack. It's not too expensive, and you can replace these off of the top. You can also take them off and bring them over to a sink. But since we're on video here, I'm just gonna show you. All I do is spray this down with just a little bit of water there. I've kind of saturated that thing. And we're just going to go in here and wipe it off. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you can go onto a piece of cardstock and really cover a piece of cardstock with any of the excess paste. But just for the demo purpose, and because it really, I think the paper towel really takes it nicer and really removes it easily. I'm just going to spray this. Now, you can already see how much cleaner that is, but it's still got a ton of that red paste in it. Like I said, it has soaked that paste up. So when cleaning, you kind of want to fold the paper towel and keep going until the sponge looks almost as white as it did when you started using it. It might stain it just a little bit, but you want it to pretty much go back to being clear, and that's how you know that you're done cleaning. It's really important to do this because otherwise your sponges are going to be kind of firm and unusable. So, you know, this is pretty good. You're going to want to even clean it a little bit more than this. And once you get all of that paste out, there you go. I just wanted to show you guys that. I might not do all that cleaning in today's live. I might ruin a couple of my sponges for you guys, but I did want to walk you guys through that in case if you are using the Lunar Pastes. This is a really helpful hint and tip for cleaning things off. Yes. All right, I'm going to leave a link in the chat. These links help support me, and that is to my Ranger line. So a lot of the different products that I'm using in today's video, you can find over there. It's going to be really a helpful link for you guys, and it helps support me if you use those as well, which is awesome. All right, so let's check on our pasted background now. So one thing that you can do, let's see. It seems pretty dry. I'm going to just hit it with a heat tool just in case. That's one thing I love about these is I like to just use the Ranger heat tool, and a couple seconds, if it's this thin, will really just heat that up and dry it completely. So the really awesome part about this is once it's all dry, nothing comes off on your fingers, right? It's not loose mica, it's not loose glitter, it is just that beautiful, stunning shine. And do you guys see that? Like I said, once that stuff is dry, once the Lunar Paste dries, it just is amazing, and that beautiful shine really comes through. So this is my first layer. Now let's move into a second layer. I'm gonna go in with, I think, a little bit of Slippery When Wet. I love this color too. And let's use this for the next background. So someone did ask, can you wipe it off on another sheet of cardstock? Yep, totally. You can clean it off on another sheet of cardstock if you would like. So how did this stencil line up? Sometimes. This is the joys of being live, right? You got to figure things out with me. How did this line up? Oh, now I'm actually confused. Oh, there we go. You got to just shift your stencil a little bit. All right, so this was how the stencil looked the first time, right? Now I'm going to shift it down and to the left a little bit, and I'm going to reline it up with those centers. But this has two different kind of motifs on there. So when I reline it up with the different centers, I'm lining it up in a different part of the design, and it's gonna create a double pattern. It's gonna be super cool. So I've lined this up. I'm going to just tape it down there so that this stays into place. And I'll show you guys. This is one of my favorite techniques. So it dried super quick. That was because of how thin that we applied it with that blending tool. That's why I love using the blending tools like that, because it applies the paste in such an easy manner and it dries so quickly. So you can move on to another layer really easily like this. Now for this next layer, I'm gonna show you guys how to use a blending brush just to get a little bit of variety and to show you guys two different ways to apply the paste right away. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of Slippery When Wet, and this, applying it with a brush is really where this piece of plastic comes in handy. You want to smooth it out pretty flat because I like to make sure that it just hits the brush bristles and doesn't get all the way into it, right? We don't want to get Lunar Paste trapped up into here. That's gonna be a lot more difficult to clean out. So that's why I spread it down pretty thin. Then I'm going to lightly tap it into there so that it's just sitting on the surface, and then we can go in and start our blending. Now, as we blend this out, we're going to get a beautiful effect over our stencil. I honestly like the stencil brushes just even a little bit more than using the foams. Now, it might not give as saturated of an effect, but you could totally go in and do several layers if you want a little bit more opacity, because it kind of does move it around a little bit more. But the reason why I love these brushes is because it actually gets into all those details. So you're not really having to push it or pry it down into that stencil. The nice part about the brush is it's got so many different little bristles that are individually going into all of those little details, which can be so helpful when you're stenciling. All right, and Let's talk a little bit more about why I love using the brush, but let's lift this off first. So you'll notice I didn't go all the way to the edge. I kind of faded it out just a little bit. And this is because we're going to need to shift the stencil again. So I'm going to lift up my tape here. You guys can already see just how stunning that is. I love it. And then we're going to move it over. Okay, once the stencil starts getting this detailed, this is where it gets a little tricky to line up. It's like, ooh. It's like a mind game. All right, so we're shifting it over to the right just a little bit. This is going to continue the design this way. So all you have to do really is line it up with the design now that you have it. So you're not shifting it anymore. You're just moving it over, but keeping it in line with what you had before with that yellow design, if that makes any sense. I hope it's making sense. Sometimes this technique I know can be a little bit confusing, but if you try it at home with your stencils and you try shifting them, it's different with each design, but you can get some really cool effects and shift it different ways and really try things out because you're going to get different looks with each different way that you shift the stencil, right? Because there's no one perfect way to do it. I know in my comments when I was doing this technique one time, someone said, like I can't get it to look like yours, but really you can shift it any different way you want to get different effects. All right, so we've continued it now towards the right. Now all we need to do is move it upward a little bit, and that needs to line up with this one. Right there. Once you've got it lined up with that yellow again, we can go in, and you guys can already tell, like I'm touching this yellow already, and it's pretty much dry. It's crazy. That's why I love these, applying it with the brushes or the blending tools. It really applies it so thin that it dries in a matter of like a minute or two. Depends, of course, what climate you're in. I can never give like an exact answer to how fast it's gonna dry for different people because we're all living in different areas and it's gonna dry differently according to, how humid it is, how warm it is, but it's drying pretty quick. All right, so finishing it off, I shifted the stencil one more time, and we are finishing this area off. So you guys can see, I'm just still dipping it into that. I'm not getting it really down far into those brush bristles. I'm still keeping it right at the top there, and that's gonna be really helpful for me as I'm blending, as I clean things off. So now we're moving on into the cleaning phase. Right, again, I always say, set this off to the side, we're gonna clean it off. Oh my gosh, but look at that. Can we just take a moment to enjoy that? So of course, every stencil is gonna shift differently. I've showed this technique a few different times using different stencils, and you guys can check those out. I love the sweater weather stencil for it. The stained glass one is cool. And like I showed you guys the dots, and there's a lot of different patterns that'll work with it. Look for geometric designs in your stash. All right, so cleaning. We're gonna do the exact same thing that we did, really just saturate these down. And wipe off the stencil. Now this one we've been working with a little bit more. You can already see that it's been drying just a tiny bit on here. It's not super big deal because like I said, on these kind of plastic surfaces, it's easier to get off once it's dry. It's still not like super fun to do. So I always recommend cleaning it before you move on. You don't want to be stuck cleaning it hours later and really scrubbing. All right, so once we've got that cleaned off, we can then clean off kind of our palette here. So just go in on our palette knife. Part of the fun is cleaning, right guys? And clean this guy off. All right, now I'm gonna show you guys how to clean the stencil brush. And this is what I was saying with, I was gonna talk more about how to clean and why I love these brushes. Because the brushes are even a little bit easier. Now, of course, it depends on if you really followed the way to spread it really flat and only get it on the tips of the brushes, because that's gonna make it a lot easier for you. Look, this is how much paste is coming off. It's not much. And, for good measure, I like to just kind of go in there and spray some down into there and then really just kind of press down into those bristles as you're cleaning this. you want to make sure that even if any did get into there, you want to make sure that you're getting it out of those bristles as good as possible. And so once that yellow kind of rubs off, your brush is going to be nice and clean. Like I showed you guys at the beginning of the video, though, it can get a little bit stiff over time, like just after every use. But then all you're going to need to do is just kind of massage the bristles like this, and then they'll be back to normal and ready to use again. So this is the reason why when I tried these, I absolutely loved the brushes. They were some of my favorites to use because with the blending foam, I was going through tons of paste because it kind of soaks up that paste, and also cleaning is kind of a little bit of a nightmare when you're going through and trying to clean all of that off of there. You can see how much red came off of that first one. So this is a really awesome way to save some of your paste and also get into some of those details and clean it off a lot easier. So that's why I've loved blending brushes. I do always recommend, though, having an extra set of blending brushes. I use these Gina K blending brushes for all my ink blending. I like that they're white. And then I use these brown ones for my paste just in case if it stains. And I also use this one for a lot of different colors. So I have a couple different sizes of these, and I really like to use them for my paste as a different set. All right, let's move back down to the work surface. And you guys can see this finished background. So I'm going to peel off the tape now. And you guys can see this is, yep, already dry. It's crazy cool how quick that dries off there. So like I said, this is why I like to apply it so thin. It's one of my favorite techniques using the Lunar Paste, and you could just see that intense and amazing shine that it gives there. I love it. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this background. Now, Kay said, oh no, LOL, I hate cleaning up. Yeah, that's why those brushes are a lot easier. Even though you still do have to clean them up in the end, it cuts off a lot of the cleaning time for sure. All right, I'm leaving another link in the chat just in case if you guys want to purchase these, and also in the description box after the video, or right now, I have most of the supplies that I've been using linked with pictures so you guys can check it out. All right, so now that we've done this, let's go in and do something with the pastes fully as kind of a paste. It's not something that I've really shown or gone through, but I wanted to share it in today's live because I think that it's important for you guys to see just how these pastes work and how much detail you truly can get. It's crazy. So I'm gonna go in, and actually we're going to create using the Slimline Stencil. So I'm going to use a Slimline card base here. Now this one, I've actually cut down to 4 inches by 9 inches. And let me explain why. So this is using my Slimline Stencil. This is a layering stencil set, and it is called Mosaic Florals. Sometimes I forget my own names after a while. Once we built up quite a bit of products, so now it's a little bit difficult sometimes. This one is a ton of fun. It's got these large flowers and this mosaic detail that you can layer together to create a really beautiful effect on your card. Now, I think, let's see. I'm gonna go in and do the flowers with inks, and then I'm going to do the mosaics with paste. I think that would be fun to do all those little details with a paste and really show you how detailed it can get. Now, instead of cutting it down to regular slimline size, I cut down into the same size as the stencil. Now, our stencils for slimlines are 4 by 9. That way, even if you are making a slimline, it hangs over the edge a little bit and you won't have any excess ink. But the nice part about cutting it together is that you can match it up like this and it's going to line up with the layering. All right. Yes, there are some comments comparing the Lunar Paste to different pastes on the market, asking what the consistency is. I've used, someone's asking about the Nouveau Paste or mousses. This is a lot thinner, creamier kind of to use. I haven't used those in a long time, so I'm not quite sure exactly the difference, but we've really formulated it. It's different than anything that I've used, I'm going to be honest here. But I haven't used anybody else's in quite some time. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to place these pieces of tape all over the background on the back of my cardstock here, just to help hold this in place. And then what's really awesome about this, like I said, is all you need to do is line up the edges with the cardstock, so cut it down to that perfect size, and fold these over to attach. And you know what, actually, let me grab something. I'm gonna grab my station. we're really going on the seat of our pants here, but I like the station just because of how easy it is to line things up, and I'm not worrying about like tape that's not really sticking. So I'm going to lay these magnets down, and now we can start doing our blending. So like I said, that's easy to line up, and you guys will see why. And also with the layering stencils, it says Mosaic Florals, and it says the number in the corner. So as long as you can read that, you know you are doing it in the right direction. All right, there's a lot of comments. Kay says the Lunar Paste consistency is so much better than any of my other pastes. Yeah, Ranger does a really good job. Shout out to Ranger. They do an amazing job formulating our products and really helping with that. You know, we kind of give them, our amazing chemist, a vision of kind of what we want to see in the pastes and what we want the consistency to be. And Steve, who's the chemist, does just an amazing job at making all of our ideas come to life. And so the Lunar Paste was really... It was like originally supposed to be like a powdery consistency, and then I was like, well, you know, I want to make sure that it dries. So we were playing around with different creams and things like that and waxes. And then we ended up, he created me the Lunar Paste, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. And yeah, we went with it. And I'm so proud that they're made it in the US here. It's our own formula, so, you know, you can't find it with other companies, which is amazing. Something we're really proud of, for sure. All right, so let's go in. I'm actually going to use Guppy. It's a little bit softer. So for the first color, I used a little bit of Love Struck right in the center. For the next color, I'm going to go in with a little bit of Guppy. I love these like orangey, reddish flowers. For some reason, I've been blending all the flowers I've done with this stencil looking like this, but I can't stop. I love it. I always encourage you guys to use new colors, and over here I'm making the same flowers every time, but sometimes when you find a color combination that you just absolutely love, you can't stop making with it. And that's the joy. All right, so I'm gonna go around these flowers, blend them out. You can see those colors blend together so nicely. And even if you want to, if you are having any trouble blending, you can always go back with the other color and just really lightly go over it and just go a little bit further with any of the excess color. I didn't re-dip back into my ink pad, but it's just gonna help kind of soften that edge a little bit if you're having any troubles. Oh gosh, I just dropped my blending tool. And then last but not least, one of my favorite yellows from the line. On camera, it shows up a little bit greenish. I'm not sure if you guys are getting that green tint, but it's not. It's a pure, bright, lightning yellow, and it is amazing for doing like florals or anything like this, like a nighttime sky. It just gives the purest yellow. It's not dirty at all. Some of my other yellows in the line that we've had for a long time have been this kind of like mustardy color, but now we've got just the most pure and bright yellow, which I just love. It brightens up any color combination. Look at that. Crazy. All right. So we'll go in here and finish this off. And if you guys have been also waiting for lots of my inks or Lunar Paste bundles to come back in stock on Ranger, I do have a link here, which I'll leave in the chat. I know I've been talking about the link a lot, but I did want to mention this because Black Friday, those were all on sale, so they sold out really fast. But now if you guys have been kind of waiting on some of those, they're back in stock, which is really exciting. So head over there. If you're looking for the Lunar Paste that we used in today's video, or these ink pads as well, they're back in stock. All right, so we are done with this layer. Once we peel that off, you guys can see those amazing florals. I love it. Check out that blend too. Just so seamless between colors. That's why I absolutely love my inks. It gives such a bold color, and it creates such an amazing, intense blend between different colors. So, let me grab my next stencil. So Cheryl has a good question. She says, can you add glitter or mica powder to the paste? I'm pretty sure that the mica powder is actually what colors the paste right now, but you have to use a lot of mica powder if you want to change the color of it. So I don't know if I recommend that because, like I said, it does take a lot. We get the mica powder, in the factory. We're mixing big vats of it, right? So each one has a different color in it, which is what makes these pastes so unique. That's kind of what I was sharing with you guys at the beginning when these first released, is each one of these has a different color in it, rather than it just being a dye with, you know, like a white mica in it. So that's what makes it so great for showing up on the black cardstock, because each color is actually the color that it is with that shine, right? The shine is not just an added bonus. So can you? Definitely. I would say go for more glitter. Go for that kind of effect, because you can always sprinkle glitter on top once you're done before it dries. And I think if you sprinkle the glitter or use a glitter duster on top before it dries, it's going to give you that beautiful glitter, and it's going to kind of sink into that surface a little bit and give you that awesome look. All right, let's go in. And this time we're gonna use a little bit clear skies. I think that'll be an awesome color for this. And instead of doing any of my blending brush shenanigans or any of my sponges, really I use those because it's super fast. But we're going the long way here, and we're going to use it as a normal texture paste, because I didn't show this enough when they launched, and like I told you guys, some people just didn't think they were actually texture paste, because it kind of seems like a paint consistency the way I was using it. But no, it is a texture paste. It does keep all of the amazing consistency, and I do want to show that. One thing I love about the consistency of them, though, is like you can get them through that stencil easily. It's not like you have to push them, or it's like not like it's too thick to get it through that stencil. It really goes through seamlessly and gives that beautiful, smooth blend with those crisp lines. And this is why cutting the paper down, too. I'm all over the place today. I hope you guys don't mind. I'm like going from topic to topic. This way that I cut the paper is really awesome, because all I had to do was line my stencil up. This is the second stencil, and all I had to do was line it up with the edges of the cardstock, and it was really super easy, because then it just lines up with the design that we've already got going on here. I'm like starting so many things, but then later on, once it's like done, so like even with this cardstock thing, it's like, then I gotta talk about it. So if it seems like I'm jumping from topic to topic, I just get excited about these things, right? And it probably shows. I know I get a lot of comments that are like, yeah, your enthusiasm. It's like, yep, I'm really excited about it. You know, you can tell by just me jumping from topic to topic in these lives. All right, so it takes a little bit more technicality to get into all of these little tiny areas here. Let me know if you guys are crafting along with me tonight. I always love it when people are in lives and they're joining in on the crafting. So let me know what you guys are doing tonight. Are you sitting down? Did you get some popcorn to watch? Let me know how your night's been. All right, moving on to this side. And you can see we're just applying a nice thin layer of the paste with our palette knife. It's crazy how detailed I can get, though. Like, I don't know if you guys have this stencil, you know, but I don't know if you can tell just on camera how detailed these lines are, or these little mosaics. We almost couldn't make it into a stencil. That's how thin and detailed these are. Sometimes we get notices back from our manufacturer, and it's like, oh yeah, you're not going to be able to make that into a stencil because it is way too thin. And then it's back to the drawing board for me. But this was almost like that, but I pleaded. And I was like, you know what? I think we need that detail. You know, I think it's pretty intact. It's not going to rip anywhere, but you just got to be able to get into these details. And this paste can totally get into all these little areas. All right. There we go. Let's see. So I'm going to put any extra down in there. Elizabeth said she's playing with the bee sting lunar paste. Cheryl says she's relaxing on the sofa. Finishing off your last of Christmas cards. That's so awesome, making Christmas tags, eating dinner, then she's going to get crafting. Yeah. All right. Yeah, don't ignore the Slimline products. I love these stencils. I've shared this stencil specifically in several different ways. I think the Slimline products are cool because, of course, you could use them as Slimline backgrounds, but I've also used the flowers in this separately and created an A2 size card. You can really use the different flowers and images separately out of the stencils. Oh, guys, my heart almost skipped a beat there. Look at how awesome that is. Like I told you, do you see how tiny those are? That's why it's important for the paste to be creamy and liquidy, but not too thin where it runs through the stencil, because you can see there aren't a little bit right there, just a tiny bit, but there aren't many places where it ran underneath the stencil. That's pretty unique to this paste, because I know lots of pastes that are thin like this will go underneath, get into all those details, but this just gets those details and it keeps them nice and crisp, which is awesome. So, and like I said too, you guys can kind of tell that shine right now, but after the live, I'm going to post pictures on Instagram and Facebook once these are all dry and finished into cards, and you guys will see the shine on these only intensify. Once that kind of liquidy shine from it just being wet disappears, then it becomes the beautiful shiny paste that it actually is. I can't wait for you guys to see that dry. All right, so cleaning again. Notice how I didn't clean off the inks from the first stencil. I can do that whenever, but this is important to just get off pretty quickly. All right. Stuck to my desk. Okay. So. Oh, my mom's in the chat. Everyone say hi. All right. So I'm just gonna spray down my desk too. Get some of that lunar paste off of there. And then we will move on to the next technique. And the next technique is going to be using lunar paste on my stamping foam. People in the chat are talking about my products. I'll give you the two best places to use them. I know Simon Says Stamp does carry the foam. They don't have any of the rest of the line though, so you can't find it there. But you can find it at scrapbook.com and Ranger Ink right now, which is really awesome. And then some of your local stores all around the world as well will probably carry it. I know in the UK, Art from the Heart has it. I think they have the stamping foam, which is really awesome. So if you're looking for stamping foam and things like that, you can find that at a lot of places. And if you do want the products into other stores as well, be sure to send those places emails and request those to get in, because it's really your opinion that matters and those stores trust what you guys want to purchase. So let everybody know, send some emails around. That'll help get it into different stores if you guys want it. All right, so last but not least, we're going to use it on stamping foam. So I've actually got my piece of stamping foam here. If you guys haven't used the stamping foam, I've been doing a lot of demos on Instagram recently, and I've shared tons of videos about the stamping foam. I have been loving this stuff so much and all of the different things you can do with it. And I know you guys have too. But the really awesome part about this is that you are able to use it with pastes too. So I always add my stamping foam to an acrylic block. I use my Simon Hurley Create acrylic block here just because of the size of it is really great. It fits the foam perfectly, and it's got a great grip on the edge, which makes it easy to stamp down and give some good pressure. So let's heat this up and let's get an image with it. I'm gonna start off by using the Snowflakes. This is Stitched Snowflakes. I love it. All right, so I just uploaded a video with the stamping foam. One thing you're gonna wanna do is get ready. So eye up exactly where you wanna place it, whether you wanna put it in the center or the side, have that in your mind. Because when we start heating it, we're gonna heat it for 10 to 15 seconds, but you're gonna wanna move quickly before it cools down. All right, so heat it for 10 to 15 seconds. And like I said, don't waste your time. time is precious when it comes to the stamping foam. You can see right after I heated it, I flipped it immediately. I didn't take any, hemming and hawing of where I was going to place it, and I press it down and give it good pressure. And that's going to give you the best result when it comes to the stamping foam and the effect that you can get with it. It just is beautiful. So check that out. Oh yes, Brutus Monroe does carry my line as well. I totally forgot to say that. Yeah, share in the comments if you guys have different places. If you're from different countries or areas where it's a little bit more difficult to get products, let people know if you know of a store where you can purchase the Simon Hurley Create products. That would be amazing. And I know Ranger does ship to different areas too, but I know that can get a little bit expensive sometimes with shipping costs. So if you have a place where you can get them, in different countries, that would be awesome to share. All right, so for this one, I'm going to go in with my Lunar Paste, and I'm going to use a little bit of Clear Skies and just add it down. And I'm just going to spread it out like I have been doing, kind of spread it out nice and thin across the surface here. And really, we're creating a palette. I've been using this piece of plastic for quite a while, and it's just a nice palette to work off of. All right, and then I'm going to put more blue down here. You guys will see what I'm doing in a second. So, do we have more colors of Lunar Paste coming soon? Maybe. I can't share the complete details right now. But one of the awesome things about Lunar Paste is you can mix the colors, which is amazing. I didn't want to come up with a paste of just white where you had to mix it with all of the reinkers. That was an option. But the thing about me that you guys have to understand is I'm lazy. So I was offered like, hey, we can make one white paste and have everyone mix them. And, it's a cool idea. But number one, you have to use lots of ink. Number two, these are colored with the exact color of powder. But number three, you have to mix it every project, which is a little bit annoying to me. I could do it every now and then, but I love having pre-made colors. But since we have a limited color palette right now, also mixing is a little bit difficult to get the exact color, but since we have that limited color palette now, I've mixed a little bit of that red, about half and half of that red and blue together. So a little bit of bee sting and a little bit of Clear Skies to create this stunning purple color. Do you guys see that? Check that out. All right, so this, hopefully, guys, will tie you over until new colors come out, right? It's fun to mix those colors. So I'm going to set that off to the side, and now I can show you exactly how to use this. So I'm going to go in with a little brayer. This is one of the little baby brayers from Ranger. I love the tiny little size of it because I'm able to use it with like the stamping foam and things like that. Actually, I'm going to go onto a piece of black cardstock. You guys don't even know, I love the black, the look that gives. So I'm going to go in with my brayer. And again, this little baby brayer makes it easy to work on the stamping foam without any issues. And I'm just going to lightly brayer over the surface here because you want to just hit those raised points in the design. You don't want to get all the way down into the design. You just want to hit those raised areas. And then I'll move over into my purple that we've mixed and do the same thing on this side. So yeah, that is why we didn't end up doing a white paste. We might end up doing a white paste in the future just because I think that white could be useful. But I wanted to start out with something colorful first. Okay, this is stunning. So you're not gonna wanna take much time. I'm gonna go in here and actually make this a little bit wetter and easier to transfer by just spraying it down a tiny bit with my little mister. That's my fine mister bottle. I have that linked in the supply list. And then once I'm ready, I'll go down and press this onto my surface. Give it some good pressure so that all of that paste will transfer. And oh my gosh, look how stunning that is. I just love it. And like I said, what happens when it dries? That shine just will come back. Do you guys see that? Like once that kind of wetness or watery leaves the surface, because it's going to be a little bit shiny because of that. Once that leaves the surface, it just becomes 10 times shinier. It's crazy. And just that amount of heat is going to, yep, it's going to dry it. Our surface is completely dry. And do you guys see that snowflake? It's just beautiful. So that's how you keep all of that detail, right? You go in with those brayers. The brayers are really easy. Of course, now, the brayer is something that I would really make sure you clean because you don't want this to be a bumpy surface next time you use it. And also, you might want to dedicate just a brayer specifically to like pastes and things like that because your ink isn't going to stick as well to this anymore. But it's worthwhile to have a brayer just dedicated to that because look how stunning it looks, right? And then all you're going to do with your foam is just clean that off. And there we go. All right, and then I'm going to clean off my palette knife too. All right, so let's see. And then let's do another technique, one more. So we've used this. Now, of course, if you're making Christmas cards or something and you want to have a whole palette of colors, this is a pretty easy technique to do. And then just, finish this off with a sentiment nicely. I can't get over that shine, guys. That's insane. But yeah, if you want to keep doing that, you could keep using this palette of Lunar Paste here. This is just distracting me. But I want to show you another way to use this and kind of clean up this area. So, of course, one way to do it is go in with a piece of cardstock and a blending brush and go in, use some of that extra color and swipe it onto the surface there. It might be already kind of drying a little bit, but no, this is good. So we're going to swipe it onto the surface here. And this is going to give you your own metallic, shimmery cardstock. And you can die cut out of this. I love to do this with like a word die and then add that as the focal point on my card. And like I said, it'll start shining even more. And look at that beauty. So this creates that little bit of cardstock. Now, of course, you could do it on the edges if you want a border of that. You could die cut this out, like I said, and it's just a beautiful effect. So once you're done with that, of course, again, go in. A little bit of water goes a long way with these brushes. Saturate that down. And just get all of that color out of there. Really get into those bristles too. All right, so once I'm done with that, I'm going to show you one last technique that you could do. And that is going in with a little bit of water here, grabbing a piece of your black cardstock, and Elizabeth actually showed me this technique. So what you're going to want to do is dip it into here. Now, of course, you could just kind of dip it like this and get kind of a soft look on the surface. I think that's kind of cool. Get that soft color onto there, and you could even go into that blue a little bit. Get that as a little accent color in there. Super cool background, right? And again, once that liquid off the surface disappears, it's going to be even shinier. I'll show you that in just a second. So we've got that. But another way to do this, to really pick it up, especially if it's kind of drying a little bit, is swipe it onto the surface. Do you see all that color? Like, it's insane. So this is a great way to use it in those backgrounds. Again, if you're not loving the full background, that doesn't really matter. What matters when you're picking up the paste is that you find a section of it that you like. Honestly, I don't mind this one, but if you like this section down here more than anything else, you might want to die cut a sentiment out of here or anything like that, right? So check that out. We're going to dry those in just a second to show you guys the final result, but I just want to quickly wipe this off the surface. Clean that off pretty easily. All right. So let me show you guys the end result of these. Let's try to dry them pretty quickly here, because I think this is important to really show you guys just how bright and shiny these get. And I don't think it's going to take too long. Like, this one's already almost dry. Isn't that crazy? And the dry time on these is so quick. You want me to tell you why, guys? Because I'm really impatient. And that's what I require. I was like, I don't want it to take hours. So these, especially when applied really thin, their dry time is super quick. Like, their dry time is now. It's crazy. So here is that first one. Guys, look, it's electric. Once you heat set it and once it's completely dry, you don't need to heat set it in order to give it this effect. Once it's completely dry, it's just my impatience that makes me heat set it. You are going to get these beautiful, shimmery and shiny backgrounds that are just so stunning. Right? I mean, the pastes speak for themselves. This isn't talent right here. This is the pastes just doing their job, doing their thing. And they create some beautiful backgrounds so easily. This one's just so cool. All right, I think I'm going to use this background to create a nice quick Christmas card here. So what I'm going to do is go in with my trimmer. And I know this is something that I've showed quite a bit. Now, of course, if you have edge dies or things like that, that is going to work well for this. But I want to show you guys how to cut this out. For me, I just like to use my Tim Holtz Tonic guillotine trimmer. I just go in here and I line it up right with the edge of the plastic guide. It's going to help me get an even border. So I just make sure that everything is lined up with that edge. And it's going to give me a nice cut there. If you line it up with this inside edge, you'll get more of a border. It just depends on how you want to line things up. And today, when I line this guy up, I'm really just lining it up with the actual like cutting edge of the trimmer. So there's not much of a border at all when I did this. Oh, look at that. All right. So I'm going to finish it off with a card base. I'm just going to use one of these card bases. And this is a piece of my Stark White cardstock that I have cut in half the long way. I love to make top folding cards. What is your guys' preference? I know lots of you guys make side folding cards, but top folding is my preference. So I score it at 5.5. This is just an A2 size card. And I'm going to crease that down with my Teflon bone folder, and we've got our card base. So I think I want to use a little bit of foam tape on my project. I need to open my foam tape. I recently just got another huge roll of foam, and I want this popped up. So let me go into here, grab my foam tape, and I just like this 3M. I think it's 1/16 of an inch, which makes it really nice and easy. All right, so I'm gonna go in and just use a little bit of that foam. I was out for a long time, so if you guys noticed, if my cards didn't have any dimension, that's why. I'm pretty bad at like restocking my supplies, if you guys notice. It's like if I am out of something, sometimes I don't order it for a long time because I forget until I'm wanting to use it again. I kind of forget. All right, so we're just gonna go into here, peel these guys off. And then we can add it down. I think I'm going to put the blue side right at the top. I kind of stand up to look over the card to make sure that everything is nice and centered. Perfect. And we're keeping this really nice and simple, but I like to sometimes I like to just make a simple background and allow it to really stand out off the card. And this one does just that with that shine that it's got there. So I'm going to, yes, I do mean like the white embossing powder. That was one thing that I didn't restock for months. Crazy of me, right? I'm going to go in with a sentiment now. I think I'm going to use, What sentiment should I do? I'm gonna do It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas from the Oh Dear stamp set. I was gonna do one of these large sentiments like this, but I like to pull things out of the package. And these are sentiments. Actually, you know, one of these sentiments could work. But I think I want something just really small and delicate so that I can let that background shine. Sometimes I think that's what you need, really. So I'm gonna go in with the Oh Dear stamp set and the sentiment that says It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas. Line it up with the grid lines on my acrylic block. And I'm gonna do it on a piece of black cardstock. Now this is just one of those little scraps that we had when we were cutting down our cardstock, and I think that's going to be the perfect size for our sentiment. I'm gonna go in here with a little bit of Versamark. We'll first use our powder bag. Ink it up with a little bit of my clear sticky ink. I just thought I would finish one of the cards on live with you guys. And stamp that down. Because sometimes it's fun to see the full card get put together, right? And then I'm gonna go in with a little bit of my white embossing powder. We were just talking about this. This is something I didn't restock for a while, but I'm all stocked up now. All right, and then we'll go in with our heat tool and heat set this until it is nice and bright white. All right, and you don't want to overheat embossing powder because if you overheat it, it will kind of sink into the cardstock. If you want it to stay super bright white, just heat it until it turns bright and shiny and then stop after that, because that is going to be perfect right when it melts. Oh, I love that. It's so just simple and easy. I love it. What do we think? Right in the center. Do we do it off to the side? Do I dare do it off to the side? Maybe that's weird. I don't know. Wait, maybe I'm gonna do this. You guys know me. If y'all have seen a video here before, you know I like fussy cutting, and I'm going to just fussy cut right around this sentiment. And the reason being is because sometimes, I don't know, I think the square sometimes is a little bit too harsh. So I like to sometimes just go right around. I leave a little bit of a border so it's really quite easy to do. And I love these Fiskars Spring Assist scissors for doing just this, because they spring back out at you and they help to get into those tiny little details. They're truly game-changing. And they help me get into these little details. And I like to do this just because when I cut this out, it gives it more of like a rounded edge, right? That's less harsh than just the square or rectangle. All right, so I cut little strips of my foam tape. And add them down. Okay, wait, let me read the messages. Guys, I haven't been reading. And everyone is saying, oh, there's a message above. Someone say it again, I can't see it. Oh, okay. I hope you guys are kind of figuring it out. Okay, guys, where do you want it? Some people are saying centered, some people are saying lower. But I think now that I cut it, it's going to change the whole vibe. And I think I'm going to put it right there. Nope, I'm doing this. I'm sorry, guys. We're putting it lower, like some of y'all said, and a little bit off to the side. I think that helps ground it a little bit more. It makes it more interesting than putting it right in the center, right? All right, so I I'm going to now finish it off with one more thing. It needs one more thing. Here is what it needs. It needs some crystals. Am I right? Or am I right? All right, so I'm going to grab some gems. Just put these gems out here. I love these Studio Katia mixes of the gems. It makes it really easy. And let me show you guys what I do. So, let me make sure that my glue is going. So when I do my sequins, I'm going to, oh, guys, no. This is bad. But you guys are live, so we're doing this live. I'm using multimedia matte, which is good because you can literally wipe it off. And it's pretty invisible. And on top of that Lunar Paste, which things don't really stick to, it should be good. So I'm going to just go in and I literally just add dots around before I even add the sequins down. It's pretty risky, huh? That's what I do. So I've added down a couple of drops. And here we go. I'm going to add these down now. So basically what I do is I just add down a couple in little groupings here. And here we go. I like these really small ones. I think they help kind of give a little variety in there. And then we'll do like a medium one right here. Perfect. I think that's fun. And I just do it right around the sentiment in little groupings of 2 or 3. And the way that it just kind of helps ground to the design, gives it a little bit more interest, is really, really nice. So again, these are just little gems that you can find at Studio Katia. I find that the clear ones are my favorite because I just get so much use out of them. So I'll just put them right back into there, that little organizer that I've got. And there we have our finished card. So I love how this looks, guys. Thank you for joining me to finish this guy off. I hope you enjoyed even seeing these little details and the mistakes and how to fix them. I think it's important to even show that in the live as well. So here are the cards we created in today's live. Again, I'll be sharing like this after the live. Let's see. It's pretty dry. Might be still a little bit wet in some of the thicker areas, but you guys can see it's mostly dry and you can see there's way more shine to it. Like, look at that. So I wanted to show that too before we hop off here and end the live. I wanted to show you guys the different projects that we've created throughout and really how they've dried super nicely after a little bit of them drying. So I hope you guys really enjoyed today's video, and I'll tilt this little guy so you guys can really see. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate all of your amazing support in the comments here and joining me every Tuesday as we craft along together and create some really fun cards and projects. I had so much fun with my Lunar Paste today. I hope you guys will check it out as well. After the live, I'll be sure to link the Lunar Paste down below. And if you guys do use my links, it really helps support me, which I really appreciate from you guys. Again, no more lives for the rest of 2021, but I will see you guys in 2020.